Welcome in, everybody, to another deep dive. Today we're tackling Morgan Tyree's The Productivity Zone and how she approaches time management and productivity. Beyond those typical to-do lists.
Right.
She really brings in this whole idea of energy levels and even personality types and self-care, which I thought was really fascinating.
It is. It is. And really, she gets it working smarter, not harder.
Absolutely.
Crafting a life that reflects what matters most to you, not just what you're doing, but how you're doing it.
And that ties into her core concept of aligning your time management strategies to your season in life. Because what works when you're 23 and single might not work when you're, 40 with 3 kids.
Exactly, right. And she really dives into her personal experience of moving to Portugal with her family and initially feeling very lost.
Oh, wow.
But, through setting goals that were meaningful, for her, at that chapter of her life, she found that renewed sense of direction.
I love that. Okay, so intentional living. She talks about that a lot. But she also goes deep into the impact of clutter.
Yes.
Not just physical.
Not just physical. Mental and emotional clutter as well.
Yeah.
And all of that impacts our ability to manage time effectively.
And she argues that these unseen forms of clutter can steal our focus and just drain our energy, making it really difficult to be truly productive.
That's right.
And that makes me think about this statistic she throws out. The average American home contains 300,000 items.
It's mind-blowing.
It's a lot.
It is. So to combat this, she offers some advice, some very practical advice on identifying and eliminating clutter in all its forms.
Okay.
She encourages readers to ask themselves, when was the last time I used this? And what is the cost of keeping it?
Interesting. So thinking about not just the space it takes up, but what else it might be costing you to have that.
Absolutely.
I love that. So it makes us really think about consumption habits and the value of the things that we have.
It does.
It's kind of prompting this mindful living, right?
Yes.
To create this peaceful and productive environment.
Right.
So we've decluttered our spaces. We're thinking about our season of life. Then she challenges this idea of quality time.
Interesting.
And proposes that quality time happens when we're intentional about quantity time.
So interesting. And she talks about it in relation to her experience of becoming a stay-at-home mom. And initially, it was very much a time crunch.
I bet.
But through strategically spreading tasks throughout the week, she kind of cultivated a slower and more enjoyable rhythm for her family.
Wow.
As opposed to trying to pack it all into the weekends or the evenings or something.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So how we view abundance or scarcity of time impacts our quality of life.
That's right.
It makes us think.
It does.
And then she introduces this tool called the Daily 5, which is basically 5 essential tasks that she has her kids do to create more family time.
It seems counterintuitive.
It does. Like more structure should create less time, but
yeah,
it's fascinating.
it is.
And it reminds me of the anecdotes she shares about her college years. She had so many credits to catch up on.
Oh, wow.
That she really had to reprioritize things and focus in order to graduate on time.
Makes you think about your top 3 to 5 purposes in this current season of life.
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm thinking about what mine are.
Absolutely. What are we really focusing on right now? What's most important? And that leads into time tracking, which can feel icky to some people, but she's really advocating for it as a way to understand where our time is going. Not to beat ourselves up about it,
Right.
but just to really understand, like, where is it actually going?
She found that she was constantly underestimating the hours that she was dedicating to work and home management. And it really led her to allocate those resources more effectively.
That's fascinating. Just tracking for one day can be eye-opening.
I think so.
And then she has this idea of day number 1 versus day number 2.
Yes. What is that?
So it's kind of like those super productive days.
Yeah.
Those are the ant days. You're firing on all cylinders, you're getting things done. And then there's the floundering fish days.
Oh, we all have those.
Where things just don't go as planned.
Yeah.
And I love that she's like, it's okay to have both of those days. Don't beat yourself up about it.
Right. It's about adapting to our energy fluctuations instead of striving for perfection.
Exactly.
But it also makes me think, what triggers each type of day for each of us?
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, no.
To recognize those patterns.
Yeah.
And then she goes on to challenge this idea of busyness, which is so pervasive.
So pervasive.
This idea that we have to be busy all the time.
And she's arguing it's often a choice that we're making.
Oh.
It's a result of overcommitting.
Yeah.
Saying yes to too many things.
And her personal story really illustrates this. She quit this really demanding fitness job.
Wow.
And then later withdrew her daughter from this very competitive swim team.
Wow.
And both were really hard decisions, but ultimately they led to better opportunities for both of them.
Things that were more aligned with their value.
With their values, absolutely. So it's this power of saying no, not only to things we don't like,
Right.
but also to good things that might not align with what's most important.
Absolutely. It makes me think about what commitments have I allowed that are creating unnecessary business in my life.
Oh, I love that. So we're thinking about what we can let go of.
Yeah.
And then she gives us this mission, motto, mindset framework to kind of help us navigate these decisions.
I like that. And aligning our actions with our core values to create a life that reflects our true purpose.
Absolutely.
And then the productivity chart.
Tell me more about that.
Well, it pinpoints our peak focus times throughout the day.
Oh, wow.
So we can schedule things strategically.
And this reminds me of the hilarious anecdote where she packs tuna fish and cottage cheese for her baby because she doesn't have margin.
Oh, my goodness.
So flustered that, that's all she can grab.
It's a great way to illustrate the importance of creating margin in our lives. It prevents those frantic moments and ultimately allows us to show up more fully.
In all areas of our lives.
Yes.
And I love that margin isn't a luxury, it's a necessity.
It is.
Okay, from margin, we go into the 3 time zones.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me more about that.
Well, it's her core time management system, and it's a way to categorize our activities and schedule them strategically to maximize our focus and energy.
Okay.
So first you have the green time zone, or GTZ.
Okay.
And that is dedicated to focused, uninterrupted work. The kind of work where you need your full attention and concentration.
Okay, so that's like our deep work.
Exactly.
Minimizing distractions.
That's right.
So then what about tasks that require more flexibility, maybe some multitasking?
Well, those fall under the yellow time zone, or YTZ.
Got it.
And this zone is all about being able to adapt to interruptions, maybe manage multiple projects, and handle those everyday activities that don't necessarily require that laser focus.
So it's like a spectrum.
It is.
Of focus. Okay, so we have green, we have yellow. What's our third one?
Our third one is the most important, but often the most neglected, and it is the red time zone, or RTZ. This is all about self-care and renewal.
Okay.
Replenishing our energy and nurturing our well-being.
So it's not just about getting things done, it's recognizing that we need rest.
We need rest.
To be productive.
I love that.
And each zone has ideal tasks associated with it. So for example, teaching a teenager to drive, that would definitely fall under the green time zone.
Absolutely.
Requires a lot of focus, a lot of concentration.
For sure. What about running errands? Where would that fall?
Errands are a great example of a yellow time zone activity.
Okay.
You can often multitask. You can adapt to interruptions as they occur.
Makes sense.
And then for the red time zone, things like reading.
Okay.
Taking a leisurely walk.
Yes.
Taking a few moments to relax and recharge.
I love that.
So
it's not just time management, but energy management.
It is. I'm already picturing where my tasks fit in these zones.
Right.
But then she gets even more specific and she talks about attitudes for each zone. So for the green time zone, it's moxie.
Oh.
Having that determined can-do spirit to get things done.
Right.
For yellow, it's the juggling lady.
I love that.
Handling all the things, going with the flow. And then for the red time zone, it's nurturing lady.
Oh.
Self-care, recognizing the importance of rest.
I like that. And treating ourselves with kindness and compassion.
Yes. So it's not selfish. It's actually essential.
Right.
And then she has this whole personality shape framework to help us really understand our tendencies and how those impact our time management.
Yeah.
So she has arrow, bolt, circle, and diamond.
And each one has its own unique strengths and weaknesses when it comes to organizing our time and energy.
Right.
So I'm curious, which one resonates most with you?
I'm kind of a blend of bolt and circle. What about you?
I'm a diamond. I like precision and order.
Oh, that's fascinating. What about you listening? We'd love to hear your thoughts. And we'll dive deeper into those shapes after a quick break.
So we were talking about those personality shapes.
Oh, right.
And I think it's worth unpacking those a bit further.
I agree. I'm really curious to hear more about them.
Well, first we have the arrow, all about efficiency and directness.
Oh, okay.
setting goals, taking decisive action.
I can see that.
So think about a focused archer aiming for the bullseye.
Laser focus. So they're probably natural leaders.
Absolutely. Driven, goal-oriented.
I like it. Okay, what about the bolt?
The bolt. Bursting with energy and enthusiasm.
Okay.
They're the ones who start new ideas and projects.
The initiators.
The initiators. But their challenge is sustaining that energy.
Oh, that makes sense. So maybe they struggle with follow-through a little bit.
Perhaps. They might need strategies for maintaining momentum and avoiding burnout.
I can see that. Right. How about the circle?
The circle. All about connection and harmony. They thrive in collaborative environments, really prioritize those relationships.
The people person.
Exactly. But their challenge is setting boundaries.
Oh, that's interesting, because they want to say yes to everything.
Right. And they end up overcommitting.
Yeah.
So they need that balance between nurturing connections and honoring their own needs.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
And then lastly, we have the diamond.
Yes, the diamond, precision and order.
Okay.
They're the meticulous planners.
I see that.
Detailed schedules, color-coded calendars, the works.
Oh, wow. So probably not very spontaneous.
Maybe not. Their challenge is embracing flexibility, adapting to unexpected changes.
So maybe incorporating some margin into their schedules would help.
It might.
That's so fascinating how each shape reflects our personality.
It is. And how we approach time.
Like a whole new layer of self-awareness.
Absolutely. And knowing where we fall helps us understand our strengths and weaknesses.
And then we can come up with strategies that work for us.
Exactly. Strategies to complement our natural tendencies.
I love it. So it's like a personalized roadmap for time management.
It is. But beyond just personality shapes, she also goes into introversion and extroversion.
Oh, right.
How those impact our energy levels and preferences.
So understanding where we fall on that spectrum, too.
Is really important for creating a schedule that supports our well-being.
So, like, introverts might need more solitude to recharge.
That's right. And extroverts thrive on social interaction.
Makes sense. It's about honoring those differences in how we gain and expend energy.
Absolutely.
So we've talked about all these practical strategies, but she doesn't shy away from the spiritual aspect either.
No, not at all. She beautifully integrates her faith into her approach.
I like that.
Encouraging readers to seek God's guidance in how they use their time.
So it's not just about efficiency for efficiency's sake.
Right. It's about purpose and meaning.
That's really nice.
And she even tells a funny story about her husband bringing a giant, outdated calendar to their planning meeting, emphasizing that it's really about finding what works for you. Digital, paper, whatever that looks like for you.
I love that visual. Finding tools that fit our personalities and needs.
Exactly. There's no one-size-fits-all solution.
Absolutely. Experimenting and being flexible is so important.
I think so.
And speaking of flexibility, she also talks about the importance of reflection, not just planning ahead.
Right.
It's about analyzing how we've used our time in the past, identifying patterns and learning from our experiences.
Like those companies that use data to prepare for future growth.
Exactly. Learning from the past to make better decisions in the present.
That's right. Allocating our resources more effectively.
I like that. Being intentional, not reactive.
But she takes it a step further by encouraging us to also seek God's guidance moving forward.
So it's not just looking back, it's looking ahead with God.
Exactly. Inviting him into the planning process.
I love that. Recognizing we're not in this alone.
Right. And we have a source of wisdom that transcends our limited perspectives.
That's beautiful. Letting go of the pressure to figure everything out ourselves.
And surrendering to a plan that's bigger than anything we could come up with.
That leads to what she calls the sweet spot.
Yes, where our efforts align with God's plan.
And it results in maximum impact for the time we invest.
That feeling of flow, like we're in sync with something bigger.
Our passions and God's purpose intersecting. It's a beautiful thing when that happens.
It is. And sometimes achieving that means letting go of things that aren't serving us.
Even if they seem good on the surface.
Right. It reminds me of her story about quitting her fitness job.
Oh, right. And her daughter and the swim team.
Exactly. Difficult decisions, but they made space for better things.
More aligned with their values and priorities.
Yes. It's about saying no, not just to things we dislike, but also to things that might distract us from our purpose.
Powerful stuff.
Yeah.
So we're letting go or being intentional. And then she gives us some tips for actually organizing our time.
Right, like creating different views for our calendars.
Oh, interesting. Tell me more.
She suggests a weekly view for an overview, a daily view to zoom in, and even a task view to see how things fit into those 3 time zones.
So choosing the perspective that works best for us at the moment.
Exactly. And then there's the power of to-do lists.
But she puts a twist on it, right?
She does. While she acknowledges checking things off a list, she encourages us to create done lists.
Oh, I like that. Celebrating what we've accomplished.
Exactly. Instead of just focusing on what's left to do.
It's so easy to forget to appreciate how much we actually get done.
It is. A done list cultivates gratitude and acknowledges our efforts.
It's like giving ourselves a little pat on the back.
It is, which boosts our motivation.
I like that. But it's not all about planning and organization.
No, she stresses flexibility too.
Of course. Life rarely goes according to plan.
She tells a funny story about her youngest daughter disrupting her carefully crafted nap schedule.
Oh, I remember that one.
Berkeley, the escape artist.
Oh my goodness. Scaling the crib.
A master escape artist.
Talk about a schedule shakeup. What a great reminder that kids will be kids.
And that we can't force them or ourselves into rigid molds.
It's about embracing the unexpected and finding joy in spontaneity.
Letting go of control and going with the flow.
And this idea of adaptability connects back to understanding our personalities. Those arrows, bolts, circles, and diamonds.
Exactly. Recognizing our strengths and weaknesses when it comes to time management.
It's like finding the perfect dance partner for a time.
That's a great analogy.
We all move to a different rhythm.
An arrow might excel at delegating.
Huh?
A bolt might need to focus on follow-through.
A circle thrives in collaboration.
And a diamond finds comfort and structure.
It's all about creating a system that works for us.
Exactly. Honoring our unique wiring.
Embracing our individual rhythms. A symphony of productivity.
I like that. And also recognizing where we fall on that introversion-extroversion spectrum.
Oh, right.
Understanding our energy needs is crucial for preventing burnout.
So introverts might need more solo time. Extroverts might find energy in social settings.
And it all comes back to intentionally scheduling that red time zone.
For self-care and renewal.
Exactly. It's not a luxury, it's a necessity.
Replenishing those reserves so we can show up fully for what matters.
Right.
So it's not selfish, it's strategic.
It is. Taking breaks, engaging in activities that replenish us, whether that's spending time in nature, pursuing a creative hobby, or just quiet reflection.
Choosing activities that align with our needs.
That's where the nurturing lady comes in.
Right. Embracing our unique style of self-care.
There's no right or wrong way to do it.
It's about finding what works for us, what brings us joy.
Making it a priority, scheduling it in.
Treating ourselves with kindness and compassion.
And she reminds us that God cares about those details too. Our schedules, our need for rest.
Seeking his guidance, trusting his timing.
Letting go of control and embracing the adventure of following God's lead.
Sometimes that means prioritizing rest even when our to-do lists are overflowing.
And that surrender brings a sense of peace and alignment.
Recognizing God's timing is perfect. Sometimes the most productive thing is to rest in his presence.
I agree. Now, while she emphasizes rest, she also gives a framework for setting and achieving goals.
Oh, tell me everything. Goal setting is something I always struggle with.
Well, she uses the acronym GOAL-AS.
Okay.
The G stands for goal, stating our objective clearly.
Makes sense. Clarity is key. What about the O?
The O is for obstacles, identifying potential roadblocks in advance.
So we're anticipating challenges and coming up with solutions beforehand.
Exactly, like a contingency plan.
That's smart. The A.
Attainable, making sure our goals are realistic and achievable.
So setting ourselves up for success, not discouragement.
Right. L. List. Creating a step-by-step action plan.
Okay.
Breaking down a big objective into smaller steps.
Less daunting that way. And the S.
Support. Enlisting the help of others.
Accountability partners. I like it. You don't
Yeah.
have to do it alone.
Exactly. Leaning on others for support and encouragement.
We can create that community of accountability.
Exactly. And our goals should not only serve us, but also benefit others.
Using our time and talents to make a difference.
Right. Our time is a precious gift.
To be used wisely and intentionally.
And that leads us to understanding our current season in life.
Oh, right.
Our time management strategies need to be flexible. What worked in one season might not work in another.
Our priorities change, energy levels, even our personalities.
It's about embracing the fluidity of life.
And recognizing each season has its own beauty and challenges.
She uses the analogy of farming. Each season requires different tasks.
You can't plant seeds in the winter or harvest in the spring.
Exactly. Be mindful of the season you're in.
Adjust accordingly. It's a natural rhythm.
Surrender to the present moment.
we're exactly where we need to be,
And God is with us every step of the way,
guiding us, supporting us,
empowering us to live a life that honors Him.
seeking His wisdom, trusting His timing, resting in His presence.
Beautiful. And that brings us to the final chapter,
Okay.
where she reminds us to seek fullness in all areas of our lives.
Oh, fullness. That state of abundance and joy. Tell me more about how she defines that.
She describes it as balance and harmony, thriving physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually.
It sounds like the ultimate goal. But how do we cultivate that in our busy lives?
Setting boundaries, saying no, prioritizing activities that replenish us and bring us joy.
Making space for what truly matters.
Investing our time and energy wisely.
And seeking God's guidance.
Listening for His wisdom, trusting His timing, leaning on Him for strength.
Surrendering our need for control.
Embracing the adventure of following God's lead. He has a plan for our lives.
A plan greater than anything we could imagine.
Living a life of faith, trusting God with every detail.
Surrendering to His guidance and embracing the peace that comes with it.
And fullness is not a destination, it's a journey.
It's a process of growth and transformation.
Aligning our lives with God's purpose.
Becoming the best versions of ourselves.
And her book provides a roadmap for that journey.
This has been so insightful.
It has.
Her approach to time management is so refreshing.
Intentionality, purpose aligning with God's plan.
I feel inspired to take back my time and live with more intention.
To help solidify all this, how about we distill it down to 10 key takeaways?
I love that. A little cheat sheet. Okay, number 1, embrace your season.
Number 2, clear the clutter.
3, rethink quality time.
4, identify your top priorities.
5, track your time.
6, embrace ant and fish days.
7, say no to make space for great things.
8, experiment with the 3 time zones.
9, understand your personality and energy needs.
And 10, seek God's guidance.
That's a powerful list.
It is. And remember, it's just a starting point.
Explore the book and discover how her insights can transform your life.
Wow. So insightful, right?
Yeah.
10 key takeaways to really get us thinking about how we're managing our time and energy.
It's about taking back our time and living with more intention. Exactly. And as we wrap up this deep dive into the productivity zone, I want to circle back to her parting message.
Okay.
Because it really ties everything together. She encourages us to embrace our unique journeys.
Right.
Grant ourselves some grace amidst the imperfections.
Because there will be imperfections.
Always.
Always.
And it's finding that balance between striving for excellence and surrendering to something bigger than ourselves.
So it's okay to let go of that pressure to be perfectly productive all the time.
Absolutely. Finding a rhythm that honors our individual needs and personalities.
And she tells a funny story about a friend who wisely pointed out that the laundry will still be there tomorrow.
Oh, I love that. It's about prioritizing what truly matters.
Right.
Letting go of that need to do it all perfectly.
And it goes back to understanding our season, our strengths and weaknesses,
Right.
and honoring our capacity limitations.
To avoid that constant, frantic busyness.
Right. It's about creating a life that truly fits.
That reflects our values, that honors our gifts and talents.
A symphony of productivity, not a cacophony of obligations.
I love that. But she doesn't want us to just settle for mediocrity either.
No.
She encourages us to pursue our goals, but to find that harmony between our efforts and God's purpose for our lives.
Embracing the journey.
With all its twists and turns.
Because there will be twists and turns.
Knowing that He is guiding our steps.
So it's a call to action, but also a call to peace.
Right.
Because we're not in control.
And that surrender can actually bring tranquility and purpose.
This deep dive has been so enriching.
It has.
Morgan Tyree's insights offer such a fresh perspective on time management.
I agree. It's not just about efficiency. It's about intentionality and purpose.
Aligning our lives with God's plan.
I feel so much more equipped to live a more fulfilling and impactful life.
Me too.
So thank you all for joining us on this exploration of the productivity zone.
We hope you feel empowered to reclaim your time and craft a life that radiates authenticity, purpose, and joy.
Thanks for listening.